We've got a Falcons signing to talk about on today's show, and it's someone that I think we all know. Former Oklahoma State legend and former Pittsburgh Steelers wide receiver James Washington is being added to the Falcons' 90-man roster, according to Mike Garafolo. So I want to break this down with you guys, talk about what I think it means, because it could have some, somewhat big implications. I don't think it's just adding a random guy to the roster for the sake of adding a guy to the roster. And then we're going to talk about some of the training camp takeaways and the Kool-Aid coming out of Atlanta after the first week of camp. But James Washington will join the Falcons after not seeing a lot of action the last 2 years. He did not appear in a regular season game at all in 2023. The last time he stepped on the field for a regular season game was in 2022 with the Cowboys, where he did not even record a catch, had one target in 2 games. Last year, he was on the Colts and Saints practice squad. The last time he actually caught a football in a real game was in 2021 with the Steelers, where he started his NFL career. You can look at his stats through the first 4 seasons with Pittsburgh. He had some good years and good moments. 735 yards. It's hard to do that on accident. 5 touchdowns in 2020. So I don't think the Falcons are asking for a ridiculous amount of production from him. They're looking for someone to compete for wide receiver 4/5. So when I saw this signing, the first thing that popped in my head was this is one of 2 things. One, there's an injury to a wide receiver that we're about to find out about. Sometimes you find out about injuries in training camp by way of, they made a signing at that position. Why would they do that? Oh, that's because they're about to put this guy on injured reserve. So that was the first thing that came to my mind. The second thing was, after a week of training camp and all of OTAs and mandatory minicamp, are the Falcons not satisfied with the production or what they are seeing on film and on the field from the backup wide receivers? They know what they have in Drake London and Darnell Mooney. Those are your top 2 guys. But maybe there are some concerns about what Rondale Moore and Kaderil Hodge can contribute, especially with the new look the Falcons are going to have offensively with a lot more 3 wide receiver sets. You need to be at least 3 deep, and they may not feel like there is adequate competition going on for that 3rd wide receiver spot. So that's why they're bringing in a veteran that's got some real experience that can push Kaderil Hodge or Ray McLeod or Rondale Moore or rookie Casey Washington for, I think, actual snaps. Not talking about, hey, they signed someone that might make the practice squad. I think James Washington is someone who can actually push for a spot on the 53-man roster. So overall, I'm glad to see they added another wide receiver. We spent a long time in the offseason talking about how the Falcons need to add more wide receivers given the way this offense is headed, and I'm glad they finally did something to that. Now, before we get any further in today's show, I was looking at the July subscriber numbers for our channel and Saints Now, and we have cut the deficit down by a lot. Keep in mind, we have beaten Saints Now in subscribers every single month in 2024. Don't stop now. Don't stop right before the season gets underway. Hit the sub button down below if you want to beat the Saints twice this season. Now, let's switch gears and talk about some of the Kool-Aid coming out of Flowery Branch and overall Falcons training camp, because Kirk Cousins has been a popular name so far. The overall consensus by every single person at training camp, reporters, players, wildlife in the area, Kirk Cousins is awesome. There's no way you can talk to anyone who has even seen just one snap of Falcons training camp practice and come away with a different conclusion. The Falcons have a real quarterback in charge. Something they have not had the last 2 seasons between Mariota and Ritter. And then at the very end of the Matt Ryan era, we knew Matt Ryan was a pro, but in terms of execution, it wasn't quite there in 2021, at least for the standards we all know or held Matty Ice to. But Cousins has carved up this Falcons defense. I'm not a big believer in putting any sort of weight into training camp practice stats, especially when you're looking at other teams that have quarterback battles, because quarterback A is going up against the number 1 defense and quarterback B is going up against the number 2 defense. So people look at quarterback B's stats and think, wow, he outperformed quarterback A. Well, he also went up against the backups on defense, so it's not really apples to apples. But the overall, I hate doing this, stats from training camp from Kirk Cousins are pretty intoxicating, Like, he's got nearly 0 completions. The completions he does have are mostly due to drops. He has been on time, on target, with accuracy, with velocity, showing no signs whatsoever of an Achilles tear about 9-10 months ago. Kirk Cousins has been everything the Falcons could have hoped for. And now they got to wait till the regular season to see him come through when it matters most. But by all accounts, if you just want a spark note takeaway from Kirk Cousins' first week of training camp, he's the real deal. Now, before we get any further into the training camp conversation, we're going to talk about Kyle Pitts as well. I do want to tell everyone watching about our great sponsor today, which is Game Time. If you want to go catch a Braves game, Falcons training camp, a concert in your area, give Game Time a shot. Now, Game Time is one of my favorite ticketing apps because they have something called the Game Time Guarantee. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Now, Game Time is an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to the first pitch. So take the guesswork out of buying buying MLB tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply, but again, create an account and redeem code CHATSPORTS, C-H-A-T Sports, for $20 off your first purchase. I put all that information in the comments and description of today's video, but give Game Time a shot next time you're looking to go to a Braves game, Falcons game, or any other game in your local area. Game Time has an awesome deal for the Dirty Birds. $20 off when you download the Game Time app and use code CHATSPORTS. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Now, going back to the Kirk Cousins segment, if you don't want to take my word for it, that's perfectly fine. How about the number 2 receiver on this team, Darnell Mooney? Kirk is Kirk, he said. He's had all these guys that are great receivers. He's had Stephon Diggs, Adam Thielen, Justin Jefferson, Deshaun Jackson, Pierre Garçon. But out of all those guys, Kirk has been the main guy. Kirk is the guy. He's the reason why everybody is flowing. Kirk is the guy for sure that's making everything happen. Like I just said a few minutes ago, 0 concern over the Achilles injury. The way he has just stepped into this locker room, and we know that Kirk Cousins is a great leader, and there's great reviews about his character. So I think we all kind of expected Kirk Cousins to step in here and be a pro. But man, I didn't expect it to be this good. I mean, he signed with the Falcons with the belief that they are going to be committed to him for the rest of his NFL career. 5 weeks later, they already drafted his replacement, so you can see how that might sour the relationship a little bit. Instead, there's been no signs of frustration or upsetness with the organization. Instead, he's been, just the number 1 player in this locker room when it comes to leadership and leading by example on top of it. Kirk Cousins has been everything the Falcons could ask for in a franchise quarterback. And compared to some of the other contracts that quarterbacks are getting right now, if you're just talking like pound for pound, dollar for dollar, overall value of a contract, Kirk Cousins, 4 years, $180 million, is looking pretty good compared to what some other quarterbacks are getting paid. Now, the only question that the Falcons need to answer is, can the defense hold up? I don't have many concerns about this offense. I think this offense is going to be a good offense. It's got talent everywhere. Drake London, Kyle Pitts, Bijan Robinson, Darnell Mooney, Kirk Cousins. Those 5 guys should be able to score 3+ touchdowns every single week. Maybe one bad week here or there, but overall, they're going to average about 24 to 25 points. So can the defense hold the opposition to less than 25 points? That's the question we're going to tackle in just a moment. But today's trivia question, I've got 3 receivers that I want you guys to put in order of receiving yards while being an Atlanta Falcon. Tony Gonzalez, Russell Gage, Calvin Ridley. Not career, but in Atlanta as a Falcon. Put these 3 guys in order of receiving yards from most to least. We'll answer the question at the end of today's video. Now, let's talk about Kirk Cousins' offenses, because if you look at the last 4 healthy years he had in Minnesota, I mean, pretty much averaging a consistent 25 points per game. 24.9, 25 on the dot, 26.9, so we can round up to 27, and then 25.4. So, on average, Kirk Cousins is average about 25.5 points per game. So, I think it's somewhat safe to say that the Falcons can expect something like that this year. It's not apples to apples because there's 10 different starters, but still, that's a good baseline. So, what has the offense resulted in terms of wins and losses under Kirk Cousins those 4 years? I mean, 13-4, 8-9, 7-9, 10-6. So, unfortunately, one of the issues the Vikings had with Kirk Cousins, and I don't think it was fair to put this all on him, was despite putting up a good amount of points, it did not always translate to wins. So, with that, I want to take it one step further. And I want to show you guys over the last 2 years, the Falcons' record when scoring 25 points, which let's say that's what they're going to average with Kirk Cousins this year because that's what he's averaged for 4 straight years in Minnesota. Last 2 years, the Falcons are 7-4 when the offense puts up 25 or more points. The Saints, just for like reference, just to compare, are 7-5. The Bucs are 6-2. The Panthers are 3-3. 7-4 might not look too shabby. Now let's compare it to the competition, the actual competition in the NFC. In that same time frame, the 49ers are 20-0. The Eagles are 18-2, along with the Cowboys, and the Detroit Lions are 16-6. The Falcons have to be better in this department. If Kirk Cousins is going to put up 25 points a game for them, they cannot be going 7-11 when it comes to wins. The win percentage for 25 points on offense simply has to be better. So that is the question for the Falcons defense. Can they hold the opposition to 24 points? Because if I'm told before the season starts, the Falcons defense gives up an average of 21 points a game, I'm thinking this might be an 11-win team. But if the Falcons defense is giving up 26 points per game, that might not seem like a huge difference, 22-26. But we just saw the difference for the okay teams in the NFC South and the juggernauts in the NFC in general. If you want to hang with the big dogs, you have to cash in when your offense scores 25. It has to be first to 25, game over. So the defense, ball's in your court. Now, I want to wrap up the video by talking about Kyle Pitts for a moment. He's also been a subject of training camp so far in a very good way. Team writer Will McFadden wrote, Pitts looks healthier and primed for a big year in his new situation. His performance during Saturday's open practice served as the high point of Pitts' first 4 days, and it illustrated how he can become the top option in an offense designed to give him plenty of opportunities. I'm excited for Kyle Pitts this year. I think we're going to see a much closer version to 2021 Pitts than, say, 2023. Where at the beginning of the year, didn't it feel like Kyle Pitts was still recovering from the knee injury and surgery he sustained in the second half of 2022? I thought it was really important that Will pointed out that Pitts looks healthy, because that was not the case to open up last year. And then the offense just started to flutter with all the turnovers and the inconsistency and the shuffling and carousel at the quarterback position, and it felt like Pitts kind of got lost in the shuffle a little bit. Still had a solid year, 667 yards, 3 touchdowns, but I'm choosing to be a believer in Kyle Pitts this year. I think with Kirk Cousins there's going to be a lot more stability in offense, ton more stability at the quarterback position, and we're going to see the unicorn look like a unicorn, right? Don't forget what Kyle Pitts looks like coming out of Florida. I mean, size and speed combination that just does not come along every single NFL draft. I think this is going to be Kyle Pitts' best year yet. So let me know. Do you guys think Kyle Pitts will reach 1,000 yards? If I'm ranking like guys I'd bet to get to 1,000 yards, number 1, Drake London. Number 2, I guess number 1, Drake London. Number 2, Bijan Robinson on the ground, but to me they seem tied. And then I'll put Kyle Pitts next up over Darnell Mooney or anyone else on the receiving corps. I think Kyle Pitts is very much on a good path to get to 1,000 yards with Cousins as his quarterback. All right, to wrap up the video, our trivia answer for today, 9th overall in receiving yards in Falcons history, Tony Gonzalez with a little over 4,100. 14th overall, Calvin Ridley with 3,342. And 24th overall, Russell Gage with a little over 2,000 yards. All right, that will do it for us on today's show. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Enjoy the rest of your night, and we'll see everyone tomorrow.